Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very exciting Norwegian Cruise Line webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an Industry Relations Manager here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. This webinar will run about 45 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we'll get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, which is CLIA Global. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Derek Lloyd. Derek has been in the cruise industry since 1995 and has held various roles for multiple cruise lines over the years. First starting with Norwegian Cruise in 2001 as Business Development Manager for Western Canada, Derek rejoined in 2006 as National and Key Account Manager, where he was eventually appointed Director of Business Development for the Canadian and Northeast U.S. markets, which allowed him the opportunity to oversee all sales and business development functions in the region, including contract negotiations, tour operator and consortia account management, and customer relationship development. He is now Senior Director of Field Sales for the North American market with responsibility to oversee the entire field and inside sales organization. And with that, take it away, Derek.
All right, thank you very much, Anna. I appreciate the intro, which sounds like I pulled it directly from my LinkedIn profile. So welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to try to get through all of the content that we've got. I've actually got quite a bit for you because despite the fact that we are not quite yet back into the water, we've got a lot of really great news. And today's webinar is going to be mainly focused on the first of our new class of ships called Prima. So let me get right into it. And I'm going to start off first with a little bit of an operational update to give you a little bit of, tell you a little bit what's going on. Oh, and also I did get a bit of a promotion at the beginning of the year, so my title might need to update in my bio apparently. So in terms of what's going on with Norwegian these days, as you know, we've gone through an incredibly difficult 15 months. And that's probably a bit of an understatement. So we're very happy. Last month, we announced our return to service, return to sail plans. And of course, you know, this is the year where the word fluid is probably used an awful lot. There's been some changes since then. So I wanted to bring you up to speed on exactly what's sailing, when we're sailing, where we're sailing for the next little bit. So first off, let me talk about the ones that, for us in North America, these are the ones to focus on primarily. So first off, Norwegian Gem. Norwegian Gem, she is one of our jewel class ships, just around 2,000 passengers. She has actually just announced that we are going to be returning to Miami. So really exciting, given the fact that our head office is in Miami. There are more cruises that sail out of Miami than virtually any other. And, you know, really Miami is the cruise capital of the world. Plus, what's really exciting about that is we're going to be able to sail her from our brand new pier facility that we had planned to launch just before COVID hit. So she is going to be starting on August 15th. So she's going to be doing a number of 7-day sailings, leaving out of Miami. So Cozumel, Costa Maya, Harvest Key, and then Roatan. So Harvest Key is sort of our private island experience in the Western Caribbean. The other really exciting thing that's happening in August is we're going to be sailing to Alaska. And, you know, we lost the entire Alaska season last year. It was looking for quite a bit that quite frankly, this year might not happen as well. But due to a lot of wrangling, we were able to get an agreement to sail from Seattle. So really exciting. She is going to be doing 2 different itineraries. So she's going to be starting off with the itinerary that you see on the screen: Ketchikan, Endicott Arm, and Dawes Glacier, Juneau, Skagway, and Icy Strait Point. And then later on in the season, in September, she's going to be substituting Glacier Bay for Dawes Glacier. So for any of your clients that are itching to get on a cruise, and we know there's a ton of them out there, please make sure you talk to them soon. I can tell you, because of capacity limitations, and because we also had a fair amount of people that had already booked on the Alaskan voyage, space is pretty tight on that. I fully anticipate that we're going to be sold out of our Alaska season probably within the next couple of weeks. So that is not something to let your clients think over for too long if they want to go to Alaska this year. And of course, one of the things that I'm really excited about with this is we're actually bringing the Norwegian Encore to Seattle. So Norwegian Encore is the ship that we launched in late 2019. She is our newest ship, and so the perfect cruise ship to be able to sail to Alaska. She of course has all of the bells and whistles that some of you may have seen on the Bliss if you had a chance. So she has the full observation area, as well as the racetrack and tons of space and lots of stuff to do. So again, really great news with the Alaska season. Moving on, we've announced a couple other things, and what I'm going to talk about here is mostly just what are the new voyages, because once we get through past these voyages, we then get into all of the regular published cruises that we already had open to book. So first off, for any of you in the Northeast, this is really great news. We've announced multiple, I think 4 new voyages of the Breakaway sailing from New York out to Bermuda. So again, we were really hopeful that we would be able to get a Bermuda season this year. We've got at least some voyages in there. Again, this is another one. I would not suggest that you let your clients take too much time to make up their mind on this, because we're seeing the space on the Bermuda voyages go very quickly. After the 17th, she's going to be continuing on with her regular trips. Sorry, having a screen issue here. Sorry, give me 1 second here. Hopefully we are back. Okay, here we are. Sorry for that. Next up, Norwegian Bliss. We're going to be bringing her to the Mexican Riviera. So starting on October 24th. So Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, the itinerary that you're probably pretty familiar with. For any of you who have got clients on the West Coast, this is a perfect little getaway. And then starting in November, on the 13th, we're going to be bringing the Escape to Port Canaveral to do a great Eastern Caribbean itinerary. So going to Great Stirrup Cay, our private island experience, Amber Cove, St. Thomas, and Tortola. Next up, we've got our Greek Isles. So the Norwegian Jade is actually going to be the first ship that we've got back in the water sailing with passengers, starting on the 25th of next month. So just July 25th. And we have some fantastic voyages planned for her. So sailing all through the Greek Isles. I will tell you, I believe August is pretty much sold out, if not completely, and September is getting very close. So there are still cruises available, but not a lot in those 2 months. October and into early November is definitely where we still have some space, but again, not one of those that you want to hesitate on. You know, the thing that we found is people have missed a couple summers worth of vacations. People have missed multiple spring breaks. People are ready to go. And so especially now that we're seeing vaccinations become really common, and most, a lot of people, especially in our demographic, are now fully vaccinated, they want to get out there and travel. And then two of the other cruises that I'm really a fan of. So for the first one is on the Epic. So Epic is sailing from Barcelona, and she's doing what I would call a traditional Western Mediterranean type of cruise, but with a little bit of a twist. So while we're going to the Livorno, so you can go see Statue of David, Leaning Tower of Pisa, Rome and Naples, all fantastic ports, we're also adding Sardinia and Majorca in there. So even for people who have maybe done this type of voyage before, those last 2 ports might be new for them. So if anybody, Barcelona is relatively easy to get to. So if you've got clients, this is a great one to put in front of them. And then finally, another one that's quite popular right now is on the Getaway. So starting in November, mid-November on the 13th, she's going to be doing 10 and 11 night Greek Isles and Italy cruises. So this is in and out of Rome. So if you've got clients who want to spend a little more time than 7 days, they want to go away, they want to see some fabulous places, including Dubrovnik, Corfu, Mykonos, like all of these really spectacular, marquee, interesting ports. Really take a look at the Getaways itinerary. So now, can't talk about getting back to sea without talking a little bit about what's going on board and some of the health and safety protocols that have been implemented. So first off, vaccination requirements. Hot topic out there, but I can tell you that through to the end of October, we are requiring vaccination for all guests and all crew, 100%. There is no exception to that. So before you ask, that unfortunately we cannot make an exception for children. We can accept anybody on board who is fully vaccinated. If you need to know which vaccines are approved, it's essentially anything that the CDC or WHO have approved, but you can go to our website, ncl.com/sail-safe, sail-safe, and take a look at what the requirements on that are. But again, through to the end of October, it's 100% without exception. Personally, I can tell you, as somebody who's vaccinated myself, that to me is a selling feature. And I think for a lot of your clients and our demographic, it is absolutely a selling feature to know that you are on a ship with only vaccinated guests and only vaccinated crew. Considering what we've all just come through, I think that is a very positive thing. We are still waiting to make the announcement or make announcements as to what's going to be happening beyond October 31st. Hopefully, we'll be able to give some more clarity on that in the next little bit. We've also, of course, made a lot of changes on board the ship. So we've upgraded our air filtration system. We've got HEPA 13 filters throughout, medical grade air filtration. We've got increased sanitation measures, enhanced medical resources on board. So we're taking all of this very seriously. We are making sure that we are as prepared as we possibly can be on board the ships to make sure that your clients have got a safe and happy and enjoyable cruise experience. And that you know, going back to the actually, let me go on first of all, and then with Safety Ashore, we are working with a number of tour operators because right now, because we are requiring 100% vaccination, guests can go off and do their own shore excursions. Of course, always pay attention to the individual policies from the various ports that we're going to. Now, as I said, we will be coming out with a little more detail on the proof of vaccination that we're going to be requiring for our cruises. But again, let your clients know 100% must be vaccinated, and that's fully vaccinated. So that is if you're on a 2-dose vaccine, 2 weeks past your second dose, or if you're on a single dose, if you're getting a single dose vaccine 1 week past, or sorry, 2 weeks past the single dose. There will be more communication coming on that, especially for your clients that have booked, in terms of how they need to provide that certification of vaccination. We have reduced the overall guest capacity on board. And that is partially as we get the new protocols going, and partially because, quite frankly, it's been a while since our crew have been on the ships. And so we want to make sure that we're able to deliver a great cruise experience. And the best way to do that is to ramp up our capacity as we go through, as we work through the protocols, as the crew gets back used to being on board the ships and doing what they do best. Another thing that we've done, we announced this early on, we've now actually got a dedicated health officer on board. So their entire job is to make sure that we're following all of our protocols and making sure that everybody on the crew is properly trained in that. And then, of course, talking about the resources on board, we've upgraded our medical centers. We do have COVID testing capabilities on board. We've got dedicated isolation and quarantine accommodations, and we do have an entire process for contact tracing. Now, let's get back into the fun stuff, the sales stuff. So first off, future cruise credit refunds. Effective April 6th, if any of your guests who are holding an FCC have been canceled twice, so in other words, if they had their original crews that got suspended and they got an FCC, they rebooked, they got their FCC back. If they wish to, they can request a monetary refund. So that is something relatively new as of April 6th. So make sure that you're aware of that in case they want to take advantage of that. Of course, when they do that, they will lose the bonus that they may have gotten. For a lot of our guests, they may have gotten a 25% bonus FCC in the early days of suspensions, or they may have received a 10% off future travel. If they do elect to go for the monetary refund, they do lose that. So what you might want to do is go through, especially with prices going up, what's the value of that additional FCC that they have? Some people may not realize how much that actually can be. So again, if they've been affected by 2 or more suspensions, or if they canceled via peace of mind and was affected by an additional suspension, or if they're embarking prior to October 31st and will not be vaccinated prior to the cruise for whatever reason, or unfortunately if the guest has passed away. So there are some exclusions. The FCC can't have been transferred, has to be the original holder. So again, if it's been transferred, that can't be the case, and of course it can't be applied to a current reservation. So if you just go to ncl.com/case-submission, you can actually put in for that refund. Now, a couple last things before I get into Prima. So first off, our peace of mind, which we launched at the beginning of all of this, it is still valid for all voyages through to October 31st. So guests are free to cancel up to 15 days in advance of embarkation, and they will get the full refund in the form of an FCC. The FCCs, both the ones that have already been issued as well as any that would be issued as part of peace of mind, are valid for voyages through to December 31st, 2022. So they've got over a year and a half at this point. Next up is our final payment extension. So we started doing a 60-day final payment in, I believe it was the summer of last year. We're now extending that through to the end of this year. So for all voyages through and including December 31st, our final payment date has changed from 120 days to 60 days prior to sailing. That's no exceptions on all sailings. And then last but not least, our new, because, you know, leaving the fun part to the end, our new commission policy. So effective May 1st, and this is a bit of a clarification, a bit of an enhancement, all new and existing reservations, we're going to revert to paying full commission when the reservation is paid in full, regardless of payment type. So it doesn't matter if they paid via their credit card, whether they paid via FCC, whether they paid via a combination of, and that's where it got a little complicated. Regardless of the payment type, your commission is protected. All right, and this is actually for a little bit retroactive for bookings that were in the system from April 6th. So again, that's automatic. You don't need to do anything with that, but just to let you know, we have made that enhancement. Now, on to the Prima. Here we go. So Norwegian Prima, you know, this has been such an exciting time for us. You know, it's been an odd year because here we are dealing with all of the suspensions, etc. But we're also gearing up to launch a brand new class of ship, and that's the really important thing to understand here. This is not just a new ship. This is the first of an entirely new class of ship for Norwegian. This is the first of 6 ships. A ship is coming out starting in 2022 every single year for 6 years. And so this is right now, you really want to make sure that you are aware of what are the features of this ship, because what you see as the features of the ship are going to extend through all the other 5 ships. So previously, just in case you'd heard, previously this ship and the class of ships was called the Leonardo class. So in April, we announced the actual name of the ship, and that is the Norwegian Prima. So we're now referring to her as the Prima class. So in case you hear Norwegian Leonardo class is now Prima class. And she's going to be the first of a whole bunch of things. So this is kind of a neat thing for a few different reasons. This is our first new class of ship in over a decade. Our breakaway class, and I'm going to show you some of the comparison points as we go through. Our breakaway class is a phenomenal class of ships. So the breakaway, the getaway, the escape, the bliss, the encore, the joy, absolutely fantastic. The Prima is kind of interesting because I think that what I like about this is we're sort of in the middle between the sizes of our ship classes. So we've got the Jewel class, which is around a little over 2,000 passengers. We've got the Breakaway class, which is around 4,000 passengers. The Prima at just about 3,200-ish is kind of in the middle of that, and we're able to do some neat things because of that. So first off, you can see with the hull art. Now, of course, you can always tell a Norwegian ship when you're looking at her out on the water because we've got the very distinctive hull art. Notice on this one, though, the hull art actually extends all the way up the front of the ship, basically to the bridge. So it's actually taking that sort of colorful, playful painting on board and extending it a little bit further on the ship. So what we've got announced so far is primarily Deck 8. Here I'm going to show you, if this works, a very cool little video.
Introducing Norwegian Prima, the first in a new class of ships. Made for the trailblazers and tastemakers, for first-time seekers and explorers of the spectacular. Made for you. With more wide open spaces to enjoy the great wide open. Rooms that have more room. And service that puts you first. Be the first to discover a new experience at sea. Norwegian Prima. Coming summer 2022.
So, oops. Let me go. Okay. So Prima class, again, first generation in over a decade. One of the things I want to talk to you about today is, again, what we're showing right now is primarily decade. That does not mean that's all there is to the ship. And I know since we've done some of these presentations, people have said, well, you know, oh, well, is there anything for kids on board? Yes, of course, there's going to be things for kids on board. It's just not part of the initial reveal that we're talking about when I'm talking about accommodations and the things that are available on Decade. So don't worry, there is more to come. So in terms of some of the stats, again, she's coming out in July of 2022. She's about 142,000 tons. By comparison, the Bliss Encore is around 165-ish. What's really nice, there's a couple things with this ship. So for one, we are building her with environmental concerns in mind. So she's going to have a new hybrid exhaust gas cleaning system and a selective catalytic reduction system. So that will significantly reduce the amount of emissions put out. We're also building her with shore power capabilities. So for any of our shore partners who are able to support the shore power, we can do that so that we don't have to be running the engines to provide electricity on board, which again is a very big and ongoing thing. And finally, she's going to have a low friction hull, which is and an upgraded propulsion system, which is actually going to help increase the overall fuel efficiency. Now, really, when you take a look at the ships, you take a look at the evolution of brands over time, and I think that the Prima is very much an evolution of our ships and an evolution of the Norwegian brand as a whole. Every time we look at designing a new ship and bringing a new ship out, we talk to our guests and we say, okay, what is it that you like about this? What is it that you don't like? And then we go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what can we do and what can we change? And so there's a couple things with the Prima in particular, and really it's all about space, it's all about service, it's about design and variety of experiences, and I'll show you what some of that means. But again, the idea here is this is the first. So in terms of outdoor space, she's going to have more outdoor deck space of any new cruise ship of this class, allowing guests to take in the ocean and the breeze. And you know, that was one of the things that I found as ships in general got larger, they started to move inwards. And when you take a look at a ship like, say, the Epic is a phenomenal ship, tons of stuff to do, but it's very inward focused. And then when the Breakaway came out, one of the great things that we did with the Breakaway is on deck 8, we created the Waterfront. And the Waterfront was a very, very neat concept that carried on through the rest of our ships. So the Waterfront on deck 8 essentially created an outdoor extension of all of the indoor space. So you actually felt a connection to the ocean. And I think that's one of the things that we sometimes miss with some of the larger ships. Yes, they've got these fantastic features on board, but you still want to feel like you're on the ocean. You still want to feel like you're on a cruise. And the Prima is really going to take this to a whole other level. And I'm going to show you that when we go into into some of the deck plans. In terms of talking about service, you know, of course, hardware is great. You know, you've got to have the right ship, you've got to have the right design, you've got to have the right facilities. But really, what people remember probably more than anything is the service on board. So, of all of the new ships on order by any cruise line, Norwegian Prima is actually going to offer the highest staffing levels for a new cruise ship, meaning we've got more staff to guest in terms of the ratio than any other. And that's a really important thing because, again, service is what people really remember. Service ratio on board the Prima is going to be about 2 guests for every 1 crew member, which in the contemporary market is very, very high. And of course, design. When you see, and I'll show you some of the photos, you'll see the design on board Prima is very much elevated. And that's a sort of a key word that we've been using, is the ship is very much an elevation of our current class of ships. So this is kind of our positioning statement for the Prima. To the trailblazers and the tastemakers, to the first-time seekers and the explorers of the extraordinary, this one was made for you. And again, talking about design, you can just see in the outdoor area of the Indulged Food Hall or the OCEANWALK, which I'm sure have to walk across at some point in time, grudgingly, but for somebody who's a little cautious on heights, I'm not sure whether I'm going to enjoy it. But I know plenty of people will be taking their photo out there. Now, first for Norwegian. So first off, a food hall, and please don't refer to this as a food court. Food hall, this is one of the newest, trendiest, hippest ideas in restaurant dining these days. Think of a hip, funky food truck type of experience, but on board a ship. So it gives your clients the variety of food, all of those types of choices that they're looking for on vacation. We're also going to have an outdoor sculpture garden. I think I've got some photos of that coming up. And I'm going to show you the Haven, because the Haven is very, very well designed on board the Prima. So first up, let's go through Ocean Boulevard. So remember how I talked to you about the waterfront on the Breakaway ships. Here's the difference between the two. Here's the enhancement of the waterfront on board the Breakaway class and Ocean Boulevard. Literally twice the size on a ship that is smaller. So think about that. The Breakaway class, over 4,000 passengers, has a waterfront of almost 20,000 square feet. The Prima, with about 3,200 passengers, Ocean Boulevard, 44,000 square feet, over twice the size. And again, on deck 8. So much, much lower on the ship than your typical decks up top. So more outdoor deck space of any new cruise ship. And of course, when your clients are on board, you want to be outside, you want to be watching the ocean, etc. So deck 8 is now an entire both day and nighttime activity area, significantly enhanced evolution of that. And now let's show you some of the areas and some of the differences between waterfront, because I'm assuming that probably a lot of you have been on, or at least are very familiar with, our Breakaway class of ships. So both of them have outdoor dining and both of them have outdoor bars. There's seating areas, but obviously on Ocean Boulevard, there's a lot more. With Ocean Boulevard on board the Prima, this wraps around the entire deck 8. We've also got pool areas on board the Prima and infinity pools. We've got a premium outdoor lounge. We've got the glass bridges that I showed you, and then the outdoor sculpture garden. So all of those 5 items at the bottom are exclusive to the Prima by comparison to the waterfront. And now Infinity Beach. Again, as I mentioned, we've got multiple pools on board this ship. So infinity pools, of course, are the very, very cool, very, very on trend thing right now. Imagine on deck 8, you're sitting sailing in the Caribbean and you're sitting in that pool overlooking the ocean, and you can hardly tell where the pool ends and the ocean begins. To me, that's a real cruise experience, that you feel connected to the ocean. And there are multiple infinity pools on board the Prima on deck 8. So there's one on the port side, one on the starboard side, and then there's one in the haven area as well that I'll show you in a few minutes. There's also OCEANWALK, which I mentioned before. So OCEANWALK, there's one on either side. It's our first glass bridge, again, deck 8. So you can go out there, take a look, and see, watch the actual ocean going by. And again, you know that everybody's going to be out there doing photo after photo after photo because you're 50 feet up above the water. The concourse is the sculpture garden that I mentioned. And this is going to be really neat to see, especially as you see the transition from day to night. Because the sculpture garden, so there's 6 different sculptures by a very famous Alexander Krivoshub. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Anyway, so they're themed around sort of Greek culture and also themed around the fluidity of water. And they're also lit. And so during the day, I think you'll get one effect. At night, when you see the lighting effects come out, I think it'll be a whole other one. Again, very, very photogenic. And you know, as we look at appealing to new markets and new customers, having photo ops, having those Instagrammable type places is really important, because that's how people socialize and share their experiences these days. So to have some of these places where people can do that naturally is going to be a very good thing for appealing to a new generation. Now, moving into my favorite topic, the food hall. So the indulge food hall is towards the aft of the ship. So you see that sort of rounded area there. So the indulge food hall has both an indoor area and an outdoor area. Again, as I mentioned, think of it sort of food stations, food truck concept. So we've got 11 mini restaurants. So you can go throughout it's a new concept in dining. And so, you know, it's going to be used during the day, going to be used at night as well. But you can actually, again, think of little tiny neighborhood type restaurants combined with a food truck type of experience. It's going to be very, very cool. So there's, you know, noodles, there's an Indian station, Starbucks, Coco's for desserts, the garden for healthy options. Again, tons of neat little variety for your clients. And then moving along a little bit with Ocean Boulevard, we've got local. Now, probably for anybody who've been on any of our ships recently, you know local. Some of our ships, it might have been Oceans. Local Bar and Grill is sort of a 24-hour restaurant where you can get good casual dining any time of day or night. The Indulged Food Hall, as I mentioned, is the other casual option on board Deck 8. Moving into premium is Los Lobos. And I'll tell you, I love Los Lobos. Really neat thing with, I think it was the Bliss when we first came out with Los Lobos. I heard that there was a Mexican restaurant on board. I'm thinking, okay, Mexican, it'll be sort of like a Tex-Mex style. It's a real, genuine, premium upscale Mexican restaurant to the extent where if you order the guacamole, the waiter will come over to the table and actually prepare it tableside, and not just the, you know, here I'm going to mash it in a bowl and that's it. He actually comes over with, you know, like an old school Caesar salad type card and is preparing it according to your taste. And so if you tell him that you like it spicy, you'll add a little more spice to it, and it's a whole experience. There's a beautiful red snapper done steamed in a sort of banana leaf type of enclosure. Like, it's really, really good. There was a mole sauce which was unbelievably good. So again, I've got to say, I thought Los Lobos was one of my favorite restaurants on board the Bliss and the Encore. and am happy to see it back on the Prima. And then finally, as we get into our fine dining, on deck 8, we're going into Onda. So Onda is our signature restaurant. We brought her out by Scarpetta. If you were on the Encore, you would have seen Onda, very high-end fine dining Italian restaurant. Some of the best pastas I've had, and a tiramisu that is unbelievably good. So anyway, again, on deck 8, there will be more restaurant options on board the ship. So again, this is not it, but this is what we've got on deck 8 with more information to come. And let's move into accommodations. So first off with accommodations, what's important is the haven. So the haven is at the very back or aft of the ship. On our other ships, the haven is either midship or forward. And I'll show you why this is important. So on the left, you'll see the haven on one of our breakaway class of ships. And the idea there is we've got a pool on the inside. We've got all of the cabins looking in towards the ship. On the right side, you see what the view is going to be for the haven on board the Prima. So on this, because we're putting her the haven at the back of the ship, she's going to be looking out. And I think that is a really, really key difference. So it's the evolution of the courtyard to an actual sun deck. So we've evolved the overall design. So expansive, again, as you can see, the infinity pool there, really, really great for any of your guests that are looking for that ship within a ship with all of the high-end features, etc., that somebody would want in a haven experience. Now, let's move into some of the public areas. So the public areas, again, one of the nice things that I mentioned this, ship within a ship. When you go into the haven, you've got a private key card access. You're in the haven with 107 suites in total. We've also got a private spa, restaurant, lounge, and bar, all only accessible to the haven guests. So it's really, you feel like you're on a small ship type of luxury experience, but you've got all of the facilities that a larger contemporary ship can offer. So imagine that you're in a private restaurant, you've got butler service in your room, and then you can go down and see a spectacular new show and go to the casino, and then later on retreat back up into the haven to have a cocktail at a nice quiet little lounge. So again, this is one of the really neat things with the haven concept on board our ships. When we get into the rooms themselves, so this is the Haven Deluxe Owner Suite. This has got a beautiful, beautiful balcony. This room is around 1,600 square feet, and there's 4 of them, sleeps up to 6. And there's a variety of other options in terms of suites available in the haven, whether you're looking for rooms that are between sort of 400 to 600 up to 6 guests. We've also got ones with multiple rooms. So again, for your clients, especially small families, you know, a couple with maybe a kid with a child or two, these are really, really good options for them. So again, lots of space, and as you can tell by the pictures, very contemporary, clean, modern, elevated look to them. Now, as we move into some of the, I want to say regular rooms, non-haven rooms, you'll notice that the rooms have grown in size. And also the bathrooms have grown in size too, which is kind of interesting. So with an ocean view, you're looking for anywhere between 186 to 370 square feet, up to 4 people. Insides, you're looking at around 160 to 250 square feet. Or we go, we're confirming with the Prima rather, that we've got studio suites. So the studio suites are something that we brought out originally with the Epic and have continued on our ships ever since. The studio suites are designed for the solo traveler. So there is no single supplement. The rooms are small. They're 100-ish square feet. They're absolutely small, but they're well laid out. And the very cool thing with them, I think that makes all of the difference between just a room with no single supplement, is that they all connect to a private lounge area that's only accessible by those people that are actually in the studio staterooms. So you've got a little bit of a camaraderie. If somebody's traveling solo, they've had an opportunity to meet other people who are traveling solo. So sometimes you'll get small groups together that want to go out for dinner. It's a very nice option for people that want to socialize. And as I mentioned as well, the bathrooms on board, we're actually increasing the size of them. So we've got full-size, large shower areas, large bathroom areas. Again, that's from listening to feedback from our guests. Now, ship's fantastic, of course, but where is she going? I'm really happy with what we've decided to do for the Prima for the inaugural season. Typically, when we bring out a new ship, what we do is we place her, we sort of bring her to the home port, and then we run cruises week after week after week out of that home port. With the Prima, we're really doing a little bit of an inaugural tour, and I think that's we've seen some great success with that so far. So she's coming out initially, and we'll be doing 10 days Europe and northern Europe. So Reykjavik, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, some gorgeous, gorgeous longer itineraries. She's then going to be coming over to North America. So she's going to do a 12-day transatlantic from Southampton. If you've got clients who like transatlantics, take a look at this itinerary. This is one of the most interesting transatlantics that I've seen, or at least certainly in a long, long while. Hitting places like, so out of Southampton, the UK, Reykjavik, Halifax, New York, really, really great itinerary, again, for those transatlantic buffs. We're doing some 5-day Bermudas. We're then from there, and this, again, if you've got any of your clients in the Northeast or in the Texas area, we're doing a 12-day Southern Caribbean from New York. And then we're doing a 11-day Western itinerary from Galveston. Let me show you this one. So again, imagine if you've got clients in Texas, they can get to Galveston, Cozumel, the ABC Islands down to Aruba, Great Stirrup Key back to Miami. So again, really, really, really great option for anybody in those areas with those open jaw type of voyages. And I will tell you, all of the voyages that I've talked to up until this point in time, space is getting tight, because typically there's one cruise. There's only one cruise on the Prima from New York to Galveston. There's only one cruise from Galveston to Miami. So again, even though we're talking more than a year out, space is getting tight. At this point, I know there's limited group space available if you're looking at doing a group for yourself. And if you've got clients looking for cabins, make sure that they look at them quickly. Moving on from there, after Miami, she's doing a couple 7-day round trips, Western Caribbean from Miami. We're then moving the ship up to Port Canaveral, where we'll be doing a combination of 5, 7, and 9-day Western Caribbean, again, out of Port Canaveral, primarily with Great Stirrup Key, amongst other islands. And then we're bringing her up to New York. So we're going to do a series of 5 and 7 days for Bermuda and the Atlantic coast out of New York. And then through the summer, she's going to be heading back over. So now we're talking summer 2023. She's going to be heading back over to Europe. So we're going to be doing 10, 11, and 14-day Iceland. So first of all, by the way, we are doing one cruise from New York to Iceland. Very, very popular. But we're doing a combination of voyages, New York to Reykjavik. Oh, here we go, actually. No, I'll get there. There we go. New York to Reykjavik. So take a look at this. So not only is it just calling in Reykjavik where people want to go, we're actually doing 2 additional calls in Iceland, which is somewhat unusual for a larger ship. So we're actually going to Akureyri and Ísafjörður. If I say it quickly, you won't know that I mispronounced it. As well as Sydney and Halifax, both really, really interesting places as well. So as I am getting to the end of this, so in terms of qualifying your guests, you know, if you're looking at who to put for Norwegian as a whole, but as well as specifically the Prima, in terms of the demographics, primarily we're looking at the Gen X, the older millennials, as well as, of course, the boomers. Families ages 35 plus, and because the ship carries a premium, because she's a brand new ship, we are looking at above average household income. We're looking at both cruisers and non-cruisers, and especially when you start to look at some of those itineraries, in particular with places like Iceland, Northern Europe, can absolutely have an appeal to people that don't necessarily go on a cruise every single vacation. We're looking for people that are enjoy obviously foreign travel, learning about other cultures, because there's some very neat different places in there, and of course because of the Prima big focus on entertainment as well as food. We want to make sure that we've got you're going after clients that are looking for, trying different types of food, etc. We've got tons of resources available for you. Please, please, please make sure you go to norwegiancentral.com. That's where everything is. So if you're ever thinking to yourself, I wonder where I get a flyer, I wonder where I get a logo, go to norwegiancentral.com. That is where absolutely everything is. If you're looking for flyers or videos or anything to promote the product, you can go into our marketing headquarters where we've got all of the e-brochures and banner ads and social media posts, examples. So again, please, please, please make sure that you're in there regularly, because we update that regularly. So I am dead on to 45 minutes according to my timer. So thank you very much. We're going to move on to questions right now. Thank you very much for attending the presentation today. I hope that you're all as excited as I am about the Norwegian Prima. I've got to tell you, after this last year, I am so excited to be talking about these positive elements of cruising and brand new ships and restaurants and all of that. It's what all of us are in the industry, what we all love to do. So I'm going to ask Anna if there are questions.
We do have some questions coming in, and I just want to echo that sentiment that it is so nice finally talking about positive news.
Isn't it?
But our first question is from Denise, who is wondering if Norwegian updated the air filter systems on board.
Yes, part of our new health and safety protocols is we've upgraded the air systems with new filtration. So we've actually got medical grade air filtration. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's HEPA 13. But yes, absolutely, that's been a big part of what we've been doing.
Okay, perfect. Our next question is from Phyllis, and I know that you spoke about this, and I just want to be very clear. Phyllis is wondering, since children under 12 are so far not being vaccinated, they will not be allowed to board. Is that correct?
Through to October 31st, that is the case currently. Of course, things are moving quickly. They're already, I know Pfizer is already, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Pfizer is doing a new testing with children under the age of 12. But yes, if one of your clients has a child who is not going to be vaccinated prior to the cruise, unfortunately, we can't have them on board.
Okay, got it. Our next question is from Lori, who is wondering, for Mediterranean voyages, will guests be able to get off at all ports and explore on their own and book private excursions, or will they be required to take excursions booked through the ship?
As of right now, guests can book their own excursions and go off and do their own thing. Of course, we are subject to the rules of the individual ports. So if there is any development or changes, we have to abide by whatever they're telling us. But as of right now, guests are able to book and do their own shore excursions.
Great. Our next question is from Catherine, who has a couple questions about qualifying agents. You mentioned household income number, and do you have an idea of what that number looks like?
I know there is within Norwegian Central, there is a who is the Norwegian guest that has got a lot of that information. Of course, we're talking to a full North American audience here. I'm not sure what the exact number is on household income. It's obviously going to vary as well, whether we're looking at, say, one of the 14-day Northern Europe versus one of the 7-day out of Port Canaveral. It's all relative to the length of time and overall cost.
Okay, that makes sense. And we have a few agents wondering who to reach out to at Norwegian. So how do agents find their contact person?
Sure. So if you go into Norwegian Central, there is a sales contact list. If you don't know, you can always email TA sales support at ncl.com. And again, that email address is listed at Norwegian Central.
Got it. And this is, I'm sure, a question that we've all been hearing every day. I'm wondering if you know, this question is from Zena, will you still be required to wear masks on board even though everybody will be required to be vaccinated?
So because all of our guests are going to be fully vaccinated, we have been told by the CDC that those limitations and restrictions are no longer required. So we will not be requiring masks on board. We will not be requiring social distancing on board to any great extent. Obviously, because we're launching with lower occupancy levels, there'll probably be greater space anyway. But that is the current direction from the CDC, and we're following the directions from the CDC. Having said that, there may be some scenarios in some ports where they may have requirements. So for example, in a particular port, if they say that anybody inside the port facility as you're moving off of the ship needs to have a mask on, then we need to comply with whatever the port tells us.
Okay, got it. Our next question is from Donald, who is wondering if the Prima will still have a pool and deck area at the top of the ship in the center.
There's a ton more to come. Yeah, and that's what I mentioned early on, is we've only talked about deck 8. There's going to be a lot more announcements, including all of the other restaurants, all of the main deck area, pool area, etc., and what's going to be at the top of the ship, and that's going to be coming out over the next few months.
Perfect. And it looks like this is our last question from Cindy, who is wondering if guests' loyalty members levels remain the same even if the guest has not cruised with NCL for a while.
Yeah, we don't downgrade anybody's latitudes qualifications at all. So if they were a gold member before, they're a gold member now. So yeah, absolutely, there's no worry about that.
Okay, perfect. And those are all of our questions. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Derek, for all of the wonderful information.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody taking the time today.
Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Bye.